Why is the G command so good in Vim? I know that can be confusing for beginners. That's why I prepared this real world example that actually happened to me just the other day. We all know what it's like to write a resume or something where you might finish writing the resume and then you always have a couple bullet points in your resume where there's no period at the end. You forgot to do a period. Actually, I don't really write resumes that often personally, but what happens to me more often is for some reason I just don't like putting periods at the end of list items. But then what always inevitably happens is I write a list item that has 2 sentences in it. And then the logical sequence goes, okay, well, if there's 2 sentences, I need a period after the first sentence. And then if there's already one in the first sentence, I should put a period after the second one. And then at that point, I'll just put a period at the end of every list item. And so that's what usually ends up happening is I have all these different list items and then some of them have a period at the end and then some don't. So if we have a really long document, which is the one I was working with, not this one, another one. If we have a really long document, it can be pretty tedious to go through and visually verify that we put a period at the end of every single list item. With Vim, instead of taking 10 minutes to go through the whole thing and make sure it's correct, you can just do it using the tools Vim provides. So how do we do that? Well, let's first use the G command to do it. So I'm going to do command and then I'll do %sign to use the G command across the whole file. And then so we'll match for lines that begin with -space. Okay. And then just to show you that I got those, I'm going to press D. And what that does is after you choose what to match with the G command, which is this area, you do another slash and then the command you want to run. In Vim, there's the D command as well, which will just delete the lines. So that deleted all of the matched lines and you can see it only got these list items minus this one. So how can we use that to put a period at the end of these lines that we matched? Well, we can match them again and then we can run the norm command to execute a normal mode command. And then the norm command we can use is a period. So this will match all lines that start with -space and then run a period on all those lines. So if I press enter now, you can see it put a period after all of the matched lines, but it put a period where there was already a period. So how do we match all lines, but not lines that end with a period already? Well, we could first do what we're trying to do in 2 steps. So we could match all lines that start with a -space and then any arbitrary characters and then a period and then the end of the line. So right here, we're just matching all lines that start with -space that end in period. Okay, and then we can just delete the period. So we can do this as sort of like a 2-step process. Oh, what just happened? Oh, norm $x. Okay, so we can do this as part of like a 2-step process where first we go through and delete all the periods, and then now we can run that original command I was mentioning, and you can see that it did it all perfectly. So that's fine, but if you're a psychopath like me, you want to figure out how to do these things in really the most optimal way possible, or not even the most optimal, but you just want to learn how to use these complicated tools. The second thing I thought of was, okay, what if I just used substitute and I used a negative look behind? So you can do %s/ and then you can see this window is showing me all of my matched lines. This is a feature of NeoVim called inc command. I have set inc command equals split, but right now I don't want that split window, so I'm just gonna do no split. And you will be able to see a preview of what I'm substituting. So if I do %s/, you can already start seeing a preview of what's going to be substituted. So I'll substitute any line that begins with -space and then has any amount of characters in it. And then I want something that says not a period. And how do we do that? Well, first we write the period, and we have to escape it because period will otherwise be interpreted as a special character in Vim's regex. And then we have to write this sequence of characters, \@ less than exclamation point. So this sequence just means not the previous character. Like, yeah, it's called a negative look behind, I think. It doesn't really matter. All you have to do is memorize a sequence. We can look at the help menu for it later. And so then we want a $sign because we want not ending in period and then $sign. So you can see that it's already showing us what we've matched using NeoVim's ink command. And I forgot to mention, there's a really good plugin. Well, I haven't used it, so I don't know if it's really good, but it looks really good. Traces.vim for non-NeoVim. You could also use it in NeoVim, but you can use that plugin to get this functionality and more. So if you want this functionality that shows you what's being substituted, you can download that plugin or use NeoVim's ink command. Anyways, we can see that these are the only lines being matched right now. So now we can make the substitution. We can go slash, and then this is the pattern being matched, and then now we're going to write what we are actually substituting it with. And so what we want to substitute it with is ampersand, which just reinserts the thing that was actually matched, and then type period, and now press enter, and you can see everything's done perfectly. So I mean, just imagine that this is like a really long document. This is much faster to do than doing this all manually. It might seem slow because I'm explaining it right now, but if I'm doing this like actually in real time, I'll show you how fast it would be for me in real time, okay? I go, okay, I want to substitute all lines that begin with dash space, and then any character, and then period, and then negative look behind, and it's kind of hard to see my keyboard because $/ ampersand dot. My mic's in the way of my keyboard, so it's hard to see it, but okay, you see how fast that was. That took like 10-15 seconds as opposed to much longer than that. So I think this is a good trade-off. And when you do this, you learn how to do this stuff and you get better at doing this stuff. And then when you do similar stuff, it's even faster. So even if you do lose some time researching, Googling like how to do this, or like figuring out a command using what you already know, even if you do that, you can generate new commands in the future at a much faster rate because you invested the time to learn how to do it right now. So that's the second option. The first thing I showed you was using the G command in 2 steps. Then this option was using the substitute command with a negative look behind. Let's look at the help menu for that really quickly. Yeah, you can just go to the help menu and read this if you want. So I think it's really just summarized well by this example. Any bar that is not in foo bar. So, but you can read this. It kind of sounds like a riddle if you read it, but the usage is very clear in my opinion. So it's fine. Then I was like, damn, this negative look ahead thing, it's cool, and I know how to use it now because I practiced it a bit, but I kind of wish there was something better. And then it dawned on me. I can use Vim's G command, but G command, right? When you run G command and you supply a pattern, after you supply the pattern, you supply another command which you want to run. But nothing's stopping you from running G command again. So you can run G command to get all lines that start with dash space, and then you can run G command again to get all lines that don't end with period. So we'll do that. If I do %G / I want all lines that begin with dash space, and then what is the command I want to run now? It's not norm anymore. It's G, or you'll see in a second. Now I'm running the G command again on the filtered lines that match this pattern, and then I want all lines that don't end with period, so that would be period, escape period, $/. But this is the opposite of what we want, right? We don't want all lines that do end in period. We want all lines that don't end in period. So luckily there is the opposite of G command, which is exclamation point or just V. So we're using the G command, and then on these resulting lines that match this pattern, we run the V command, which says not lines that end in period, okay? And now, what do we want to do on those lines? We want to run the norm command, a period. Okay, so, you know, this might be kind of hard to conceptualize at first, but honestly, I feel like this is much easier than the whole / at less than exclamation point thing. So we'll see if it worked, and it did work. So just to compare this to what we did earlier, let's see how fast it takes me to do it when I'm not explaining it to you. So %G / any line that begins with dash space / V / any line that ends with a period / norm a period. Okay, so I mean that took like 5-7 seconds. That was so fast. And you with the substitute command, you might have been thinking like, yeah, I guess I can see the use case for it, but I mean, I'll probably just do it manually anyway. But with this G command stuff, I feel like the logic is just so clear and robust that it's like, this is so easy to use. You barely have to even think about it. You just filter a certain amount of lines, and then of those lines, you can filter them again. And then if you want to keep doing that, you can. And then on the resulting lines, you can run any command you want. You can run a substitute command, you can run a norm command, you can do anything. So hopefully you kind of see how this is a real example. I did use this in an actual document. I just didn't want to show it in an actual document. I did record that, but I think it looked too confusing. So I just wanted to do this in this short where you could see everything. But this is so much better when you actually do it in a real document where it's really long and not all the lines are right in front of your face, like it's like something like this, where it's not going to be a trivial matter to go through this whole big thing and put periods after every single list item or to make sure that you did it correctly. So the crux of Vim, and I think people who don't really get super into Vim, I feel like they don't understand that. I mean, sure, many of us are doing this because we find it fun and we get obsessed with optimization and efficiency. Like there is that just natural desire in this sort of person that likes to use Vim. But also when you really do start understanding how to use these tools, it actually does end up being faster.